The night my daughter-in-law told me to go to my room like a misbehaving child. I was sitting in the same recliner where I had nursed my son through chicken pox, where I had read him Good Night Moon until the spine cracked, where I had waited up, year after year, for the sound of his car in the driveway. That chair held 41 years of my life. It took her 6 words to erase all of it. Hello. My name is Vivian Calloway. I am 73 years old, and I live, or I should say, I lived in a small brick house on Maple Ridge Lane in Covington, Kentucky. It's a quiet town, the kind of place where neighbors still wave from their porches, where the mail carrier knows your name. I want to tell you what happened to me, not because I want sympathy. I am past that now. I want to tell you because I know there are others like me, sitting in their own recliners, in their own homes, wondering if they are going crazy, wondering if they deserve what is happening to them. You don't, and neither did I. Let me start from the beginning. I raised my son, Dean, alone. His father left when Dean was 3 years old. Just packed a bag one Tuesday morning and drove away. No note, no phone call. I found out later he had moved to Arizona with a woman from his office. I never heard from him again. So I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I was a secretary at a dental clinic during the day. I cleaned offices at night. On weekends, I took in alterations. My mother had taught me to sew before she passed, and I was good at it. Hemming pants, letting out waists, small repairs that paid small money. But small money adds up. I saved everything I could. I bought this house when Dean was 7. It wasn't much. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen with yellow tile that I never got around to replacing. But it was ours. Every mortgage payment came from my hands. Every repair, every coat of paint. Dean grew up in this house. He learned to ride his bike in the driveway. He had his first heartbreak on the front porch. He left for college from the same door I had carried him through as a baby. I was so proud of him. He studied computer science, got a good job at a software company in Cincinnati. He wasn't rich, but he was comfortable. He called me every Sunday. He visited on holidays. He was a good son. Or so I believed. He met Kelsey when he was 32. She was younger, 26, with long blonde hair and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She worked in marketing, lifestyle branding, she called it. I never understood what that meant. They married quickly, 6 months after they met. I wasn't invited to help plan the wedding. I wasn't asked for my opinion on the dress, the flowers, the venue. I wrote a check for $10,000 and sat in the 3rd row. After the wedding, the phone calls became shorter. The visits became rarer. When they did come, Kelsey would sit on my couch with her phone in her hand, scrolling, never looking up. She never asked me questions. She never helped with dishes. She would look around my living room with a small frown, as if the furniture offended her. I told myself it was just her way. I told myself Dean was happy. I told myself many things that weren't true. 2 years ago, Dean came to me with a proposal. He sat at my kitchen table. He looked tired. There were dark circles under his eyes that I hadn't noticed before. His tie was loosened. His hair needed cutting. "Mom," he said, "Kelsey and I have been talking." I poured him coffee. I waited. "The commute is killing me," he said. An hour each way. And our apartment lease is ending. We've been looking at houses, but everything is so expensive. I nodded. I knew this. Housing prices had gone up everywhere. We were wondering, he said. He paused. He stirred his coffee, though he hadn't added anything to it. We were wondering if we could move in here. With you. Just for a while. Until we save enough for a down payment. My heart lifted. My son. Coming home. Of course, I said. Of course you can. He smiled. For a moment, he looked like the boy who used to fall asleep in my lap. The boy who made me Mother's Day cards out of construction paper. The boy I had sacrificed everything for. There's one more thing, he said. I waited. Kelsey thinks we both think it would be easier if the house was in my name. For tax purposes. And in case anything happens to you, it would avoid probate. I didn't understand all of this. Taxes. Probate. These were words for lawyers. Just a formality, Dean said. You'd still live here. Nothing would change. It just makes the paperwork simpler. He had documents with him. A whole folder. He had clearly prepared. I signed them. I signed away my house, the house I had worked 50 years to own, because my son asked me to. Because I trusted him. Because I never imagined he would use it against me. That was my first mistake. They moved in 2 weeks later. At first, it was fine. Crowded, but fine. I adjusted. I gave them the master bedroom. I moved my things to the small guest room where Dean had slept as a child. It made sense, I told myself. They were a couple. They needed the space. Kelsey redecorated immediately. My floral curtains came down. My photographs went into boxes. My mother's china cabinet was moved to the garage. It's just so cluttered, Kelsey said. We need to open up the space. I said nothing. Dean said nothing. Slowly, my house became unrecognizable. The walls were painted gray. The carpets were replaced with hard laminate that hurt my knees. The kitchen was reorganized so I couldn't find my own spatula. Mom, just ask if you need something, Dean said. So I became a guest in my own home. Asking permission to use the stove. Asking permission to watch television. Asking permission to exist in the space I had built with my own hands. Then came the night. It was a Tuesday. March. Still cold outside, but the first crocuses were pushing through the snow. I was sitting in my recliner. The one thing they hadn't taken from me. It sat in the corner of the living room now, pushed aside to make room for Kelsey's white sectional. But it was still mine. I was watching the evening news. A small pleasure. I liked to know what was happening in the world. Kelsey came down the stairs. She was dressed for something. Full makeup. A tight dress. High heels that clicked on my laminate floors. We're having guests tonight, she said. I looked at her. Guests? People from my work. Important people. She looked at me the way she always did. Like I was a stain on her furniture. It would be better if you stayed upstairs. I felt something twist in my chest. This is my living room, I said quietly. Kelsey laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. Actually, she said, it's not. She pulled out her phone. She showed me something on the screen. A document. The deed to my house. Dean's name. Only Dean's name. You signed it over, remember? Her smile was bright and cold. This is Dean's house now. Which makes it my house too. I couldn't speak. Dean came down the stairs then. He was wearing a new suit. He didn't look at me. "Dean," I said. My voice was shaking. "Dean, please." He looked at the wall. At the floor. Anywhere but at me. "Mom," he said. "Maybe it would be better if you just stayed in your room tonight. Okay? Just for tonight." Kelsey crossed her arms. "Actually," she said, "I think it's time we had a real conversation about living arrangements." She stepped closer to me. I could smell her perfume. Something expensive. Something sharp. "Go to your room, old lady." Her voice was pleasant, almost sweet. "This is my living room now." I sat there for a long moment. I looked at my son. My only child. The boy I had rocked to sleep. The boy I had put through college. The boy I had given everything to. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He didn't defend me. I went to my room. I packed a small bag. Underwear. A nightgown. My medications. A photograph of my mother. I walked back through the living room. Kelsey was arranging appetizers on a tray. Dean was polishing wine glasses. Neither of them looked up. I walked out the front door. I got in my car, an old Honda I had bought used 8 years ago, and I drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. I ended up at a motel on the edge of town. The Shady Creek Motor Lodge. $49 a night. The sign flickered. The parking lot was cracked. I paid with the credit card I kept for emergencies. The room smelled like mildew and cigarettes. The bedspread was thin. The heater rattled and coughed. I sat on the edge of the bed. And I cried. I cried for the house I had lost. For the son I no longer recognized. For the 60 years I had spent being strong, only to end up here. Alone. In a dirty motel room. Discarded like old furniture. That was the lowest night of my life. But I didn't know yet how much lower it could go. I didn't know about the bank accounts. I didn't know about the documents Dean had forged. I didn't know about Cordelia, and the inheritance that would change everything. I didn't know that my son had been planning this for over a year. That night, I only knew one thing. I had lost my home. But I hadn't lost myself. Not yet. And that, I think, is where the real story begins. I didn't sleep that night. The motel bed was too hard. The pillow smelled like bleach. Through the thin walls, I could hear a couple arguing in the next room. A woman crying. A man shouting something I couldn't make out. I lay there in the dark, staring at the water stain on the ceiling. I kept thinking, this is a mistake. This is all a misunderstanding. In the morning, Dean will call. He will apologize. He will say, "Mom, I'm so sorry. Please come home." I checked my phone every few minutes. No calls. No messages. Nothing. Around 3 in the morning, I gave up on sleep. I sat in the chair by the window. It was vinyl, cracked and cold. Through the gap in the curtains, I could see the parking lot. A few cars. A vending machine with a broken light. A stray cat picking through the garbage. This is where I am now, I thought. 73 years old. Sitting in a $49 motel room. Watching a cat eat trash. I thought about my mother. She passed when I was 52. Lung cancer. She never smoked a day in her life. But the world isn't fair. I held her hand at the end. She looked at me with those clear blue eyes and said, "Vivian, you are stronger than you know." I didn't feel strong now. I felt like a fool. When the sun came up, I made a decision. I would go back to the house. I would talk to Dean. Just the two of us, without Kelsey. I would remind him of who we were. Mother and son. Blood. The only family either of us had left. Surely that meant something. Surely he wouldn't throw away 73 years of love for a woman he had known for 5. I showered in the tiny bathroom. The water pressure was weak, and the drain was slow. I put on the same clothes from yesterday. I didn't have many options. I checked out at the front desk. The clerk was a young man with tired eyes. He didn't ask why a woman my age was staying alone at a motel like this. I was grateful for that. I drove back to Maple Ridge Lane. My street. My neighborhood. The place where I had planted tulips every spring for 40 years. I parked in front of the house. For a moment, I just sat there. The house looked the same. Red brick. White shutters. The dogwood tree I had planted when Dean was 10. But something felt different. Wrong. Like looking at a photograph of someone you love after they've hurt you. The same face. But you see it differently now. I walked to the front door. I took out my key, the same key I had carried for 4 decades, and put it in the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again. I jiggled it. I pushed. I pulled. Nothing. They had changed the locks. I stood on my own porch, holding a key that no longer worked, and I felt something crack inside me. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder. Dean. I called. Dean, it's Mom. Please open the door. Silence. I could see movement through the front window. A shadow passing. Someone was home. I knocked until my knuckles hurt. Dean, please. I just want to talk. The shadow moved again. Then the curtain twitched. I saw Kelsey's face for just a moment. Pale. Annoyed. Then the curtain fell back. She didn't open the door. I called Dean's phone. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I called again and again. I left messages. My voice started calm, then desperate, then just tired. Dean, please call me back. Dean, I'm outside. I just want to talk. Dean, I don't understand what's happening. Dean, I'm your mother. 17 calls. 17. He didn't answer a single one. I sat in my car for 2 hours. I watched my own house like a stranger. I saw Kelsey leave around noon. She got into her white SUV, the one Dean had bought her last year, and drove away without looking at me. I thought about going to the back door. I thought about breaking a window. It was my house, wasn't it? I had paid for every brick, every shingle, every blade of grass. But I remembered the document Kelsey had shown me. Dean's name on the deed. Only Dean's name. I had signed it myself. Eventually, I drove away. I didn't know where to go. I had no family left. My parents were gone. I had a brother once, but he died in Vietnam when I was 19. I had friends, but the kind you see at church, at the grocery store. Not the kind you call when your life falls apart. I ended up at a diner on Route 9. A place called Mabel's. I had eaten there a few times over the years. Good coffee. Cheap pie. I ordered both. The waitress was a woman about my age. Gray hair, kind eyes, orthopedic shoes. Her name tag said, Ruth. You okay, hun? She asked when she brought my coffee. I almost told her everything. I almost burst into tears right there in the booth. But I just smiled and said, "Fine, thank you." She nodded. She had seen enough of life to know when someone was lying. But she was kind enough not to push. I sat in that booth for a long time. I thought about what to do next. I had some money in savings. A joint account that Dean and I had opened years ago, when he was in college. I had added his name so he could access it in emergencies. After his father left, I wanted to make sure Dean would be taken care of if anything happened to me. I had never taken his name off. There should be around $60,000 in there, I thought. Maybe a little more. My savings from decades of work. My safety net. Enough to get an apartment. Enough to start over. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app. I typed in my password. The screen loaded. And my heart stopped. The balance was $847.32. I stared at the number. I refreshed the page. $847.32. I scrolled through the transactions. Withdrawal. $2,000. 3 weeks ago. Withdrawal. $3,500. A month ago. Transfer. $5,000. 6 weeks ago. Transfer. $8,000. 2 months ago. Page after page. For over a year, money had been leaving my account. Small amounts at first. A few hundred here and there. Then larger. And larger. Until there was almost nothing left. All of it transferred to an account I didn't recognize. All of it authorized by D. Calloway. Dean. My son had been stealing from me. I don't remember driving back to the motel. I remember sitting on the edge of that thin bed again. I remember my hands shaking. I remember the sound of my own breathing, ragged and strange. $60,000. A lifetime of work. Gone. He had planned this. That was the part one couldn't accept. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This wasn't a mistake. He had been draining my account for over a year. Slowly. Carefully. So I wouldn't notice. And then he had taken my house. And then he had thrown me out. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? My son stole my money? He was on the account. Legally, he had every right to withdraw funds. I had given him that right. I had trusted him. I thought about calling a lawyer. But lawyers cost money. Money I no longer had. I thought about going back to the house. Demanding answers. Making a scene. But I was 73 years old. I was tired. I was alone. And I was beginning to understand something terrible. My son didn't love me. Maybe he never had. Maybe I had just been useful to him. A source of money. A source of housing. A problem to be managed until I was no longer needed. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I prayed. Not for money. Not for my house. Not even for answers. I prayed for strength. I prayed for clarity. I prayed for the courage to face whatever came next. And then, the next morning, a black sedan pulled into the motel parking lot. A man in a gray suit stepped out. He was tall, silver hair, expensive shoes. He looked completely out of place at the Shady Creek Motor Lodge. He walked directly to my door. He knocked. "Mrs. Calloway," he said. "My name is Vincent Hawley. I'm an attorney. I have news about your cousin Cordelia." I didn't move. "Mrs. Calloway, I think you're going to want to hear this." I opened the door, and everything changed. Vincent Hawley didn't look like he belonged at the Shady Creek Motor Lodge. His suit was charcoal gray, tailored. His shoes were polished to a mirror shine. A leather briefcase hung from his left hand. He stood in the doorway of my motel room like a man who had accidentally walked into the wrong life. In a way, he had. He had walked into mine. "May I come in?" he asked. His voice was calm, professional, the voice of a man who delivered news for a living. Good news, bad news. He had learned to say both the same way. I stepped aside. He looked around the room. The stained carpet, the rattling heater, the bed I had barely slept in. If he judged me, he didn't show it. He sat in the vinyl chair by the window. I sat on the edge of the bed. "Mrs. Calloway," he said, "I apologize for arriving unannounced. I tried to reach you at your home address, but I was told you no longer reside there." I said nothing. "I'm the executor of the estate of Cordelia Hayworth," he continued. "I believe she was your mother's cousin." Cordelia. The name came back to me slowly, like a photograph fading into focus. My mother had mentioned her sometimes. A distant relative. They had exchanged Christmas cards when I was young. I remembered seeing her once, maybe twice. A tall woman with sharp cheekbones and gray eyes. She never married. She lived alone in a large house somewhere in Connecticut. I hadn't thought about her in 30 years. "Cordelia passed away 6 weeks ago," Vincent said. Peacefully. In her sleep. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. It was the polite thing to say. But I felt nothing. She had been a stranger. Vincent opened his briefcase. "Mrs. Calloway, Cordelia left a will. A very specific will." He pulled out a folder. Thick, official looking. She had no children, no spouse, no close family. She spent the last years of her life researching her relatives. Distant cousins, second cousins, people she had lost touch with. He looked at me. "She found you." I didn't understand at first. "Found me?" I said. "Cordelia was quite wealthy," Vincent said. "She inherited money from her father, who made his fortune in manufacturing. She invested wisely, lived modestly. When she died, her estate was valued at approximately $2.3 million. I heard the number, but it didn't register. "She left everything to you, Mrs. Calloway." The room went silent. I could hear the heater rattling. A car passing on the highway outside. My own heartbeat, suddenly loud in my ears. "I don't understand," I said. Vincent smiled. It was a kind smile. "Patient. Cordelia wrote you a letter," he said. "She asked me to deliver it personally." He handed me an envelope. Cream-colored, expensive paper. My name was written on the front in shaky handwriting. The handwriting of an old woman. I opened it. "Dear Vivian, you don't know me, but I knew your mother. She was kind to me once, many years ago, when kindness was rare. I have watched your life from a distance. I know you raised your son alone. I know you worked hard. I know you sacrificed. I also know what your son has become. I am old. I have no children. I have no one to leave my money to. So I am leaving it to you. Not because you need it, but because you deserve it. Use it well. Use it for yourself, not for anyone else. Your mother would be proud of you. Cordelia." I read the letter 3 times. My hands were shaking. How did she know? I whispered. How did she know about Dean? Vincent's expression shifted. Something flickered in his eyes. Discomfort. Or perhaps anger. It was hard to tell. Mrs. Calloway, he said slowly. There's something else you need to know. I waited. 3 weeks ago, a man came to my office. He claimed to be your son. Dean Calloway. My stomach dropped. He said you were unwell, mentally incapacitated. He said you were suffering from dementia and could no longer manage your own affairs. Vincent paused. He wanted to be appointed as your legal guardian. He wanted control of your inheritance. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the bed. He brought documents, Vincent continued. Medical evaluations. Signed statements. He said you were living in a care facility. That you didn't even recognize your own name anymore. That's a lie, I said. My voice was barely a whisper. I know, Vincent said. I verified his claims. They were fabricated. The medical evaluations were from a doctor who lost his license 2 years ago. The care facility he named doesn't exist. He leaned forward. Mrs. Calloway, your son tried to steal your inheritance before you even knew it existed. I don't remember the next few minutes clearly. I remember standing up. I remember walking to the window. I remember pressing my forehead against the cold glass and looking out at the parking lot. He had planned this. Not just the house. Not just the bank account. Everything. Dean had known about Cordelia. He had known about the inheritance. And he had tried to take it from me by declaring me incompetent. By erasing me. By turning me into a ghost. If Vincent hadn't been careful, if he hadn't checked, Dean would have succeeded. I would have lost everything. And I would never have known. What do I do now? I asked. My voice sounded strange. Hollow. Vincent stood. He walked over and stood beside me at the window. You have options, he said. You could press charges. What your son did, forging documents, attempting to defraud an estate, those are crimes. Serious crimes. And if I don't? Then you walk away. You take your inheritance. You start over. I thought about Dean. I thought about the boy who used to hold my hand when we crossed the street. The teenager who made me breakfast on Mother's Day. The young man who called me every Sunday, just to talk. Where did that boy go? When did he become this? I need time, I said. Vincent nodded. Of course. The inheritance is yours regardless of what you decide. I can help you set up new accounts. Secure accounts. Ones your son can't access. He handed me a business card. Call me when you're ready. Day or night. He walked to the door. Then he stopped. Mrs. Calloway, he said. Cordelia chose you for a reason. She saw something in you. Strength, I think. Don't let your son take that too. Then he was gone. I stood alone in that motel room for a long time. I looked at the letter in my hands. The shaky handwriting. The cream-colored paper. A woman I barely knew had given me a second chance. And my own son had tried to destroy me. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't go to the police. Not yet. I wouldn't confront Dean. Not yet. First, I needed to understand. I needed to know everything. How deep did this go? How long had he been planning? What else had he done? I needed the truth. All of it. The next morning, I called Vincent. I want to hire someone, I said. A private investigator. Someone thorough. Someone who can find things people want to stay hidden. There was a pause. I know someone, Vincent said. Her name is Raquel Torres. She's the best in the region. Discreet. Relentless. She won't stop until she finds what you're looking for. Good, I said. Set up a meeting. 3 days later, I sat across from Raquel Torres in a coffee shop in downtown Cincinnati. She was smaller than I expected. 5'2", maybe. Dark hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. No makeup. No jewelry. She wore a black jacket and jeans. She looked like she could disappear into any crowd. But her eyes were sharp. Watchful. The eyes of someone who had seen the worst of people and learned not to be surprised. Mrs. Calloway, she said. Vincent told me your situation. What do you think? I asked. She stirred her coffee. Black. No sugar. I think your son is in trouble, she said. Financial trouble. The kind that makes people do desperate things. How do you know? I did some preliminary research. She pulled out a thin folder. Your son's company has been struggling. Layoffs. Missed earnings. His wife's spending is out of control. Credit card debt. A second mortgage on property that isn't even legally theirs. She slid the folder across the table. This is just the surface, she said. If you want me to dig deeper, I will. But you need to understand something, Mrs. Calloway. What? She looked at me. Her gaze was steady, unflinching. Whatever I find, you can't unfind it. Once you know the truth, you have to live with it. Are you sure you want that? I thought about Dean. I thought about the locks he had changed. The calls he had ignored. The money he had stolen. The documents he had forged. I thought about Kelsey's voice. Go to your room, old lady. Yes, I said. I want to know everything. Raquel nodded. Then I'll find it. She stood to leave. Mrs. Calloway, she said. One more thing. Yes? Whatever your son did, whatever he's become, it's not your fault. Parents blame themselves. But children make their own choices. He made his. Now you get to make yours. She walked out. And I sat there, holding a folder full of my son's secrets, wondering how much more there was to find. I didn't have to wait long. 2 weeks later, Raquel called. Mrs. Calloway, she said. We need to meet. I found something. Her voice was different. Harder. What is it? A pause. Your son didn't just steal from you, she said. He's been planning this for over a year. And you're not the only victim. The file was 3 inches thick. Raquel set it on the table between us. We were in Vincent's office now. A proper conference room. Leather chairs. Mahogany table. A window overlooking the Cincinnati skyline. I stared at the file. Open it, Raquel said. I did. The first page was a spreadsheet. Dates. Amounts. Account numbers. That's the money trail, Raquel said. Every withdrawal from your joint account over the past 14 months. Total $62,400. I turned the page. Credit card statements. 5 different cards. All maxed out. Your son and his wife owe over $90,000 in credit card debt, Raquel said. They've been paying minimum balances for 2 years. The interest alone is eating them alive. I turned another page. A mortgage document. For my house. They took out a second mortgage 6 months ago, Raquel said. $80,000. Used your house as collateral. But the house is in Dean's name, I said. Exactly. He couldn't have done it if you still owned it. That's why he needed you to sign it over. My hands were trembling. I kept turning pages. Bank statements from Dean's company. Red numbers. Negative balances. Your son's been embezzling from his employer, Raquel said. Small amounts at first. A few thousand here and there. Then bigger. The company hasn't caught on yet, but they will. It's only a matter of time. I looked up at her. Why? I whispered. Why would he do all this? Raquel's expression didn't change. Turn to the last section, she said. Emails. Dozens of them. Printed out. Highlighted. I read the first one. From Dean Calloway to Kelsey Calloway. Subject: mom situation. I talked to the lawyer today. If we can get her declared incompetent, we take control of everything. The house. The accounts. Any future assets. We just need a doctor to sign off. I read another. From Kelsey Calloway to Dean Calloway. Subject: mom situation. My friend knows a doctor who does this kind of thing. Costs $5,000 but worth it. Your mom's always been a pushover. She won't fight back. Another. From Dean Calloway to Kelsey Calloway. Subject: mom situation. If she won't go willingly, we can pursue incompetency. I found a lawyer who specializes in this. He says elderly parents rarely contest. They're too embarrassed, too confused, too scared. I stopped reading. I couldn't breathe. These are from over a year ago, Raquel said quietly. Before they moved in with you. Before you signed anything. They planned this, Mrs. Calloway. Every step. I pushed back from the table. I walked to the window. The city spread out below me. Cars. Buildings. People going about their lives. None of them knew. None of them cared. My son had written those words. She's always been a pushover. She won't fight back. Mrs. Calloway. Vincent's voice. Gentle. What do you want to do? I watched the traffic below. Red lights. Green lights. Stop. Go. I want to destroy him, I said. The words came out calm. Cold. I didn't recognize my own voice. I want him to lose everything. The way he tried to make me lose everything. Vincent nodded. Then we go to the police, he said. Elder financial abuse. Fraud. Forgery. Embezzlement. These are felonies, Vivian. All of them. Will he go to prison? If convicted, yes. 5 to 10 years. Maybe more. I thought about that. My son. In prison. The boy I had rocked to sleep. The boy I had sacrificed everything for. Do it, I said. The next 3 weeks moved quickly. Vincent connected me with Detective Chen from the Cincinnati Police Department. She specialized in elder abuse cases. Financial crimes against seniors. She was younger than I expected. Early 40s. Short black hair. No-nonsense manner. She looked at Raquel's file for 20 minutes without speaking. Then she looked at me. Mrs. Calloway, she said. I've seen a lot of cases like this. Children stealing from parents. It's more common than people think. But this, she tapped the file. This is one of the most calculated I've ever seen. What happens now? I asked. Now we build a case. We subpoena bank records. We interview witnesses. We get warrants. She paused. And then we arrest your son. They arrested Dean on a Thursday morning. I wasn't there. I didn't want to be. But Detective Chen called me afterward. It's done, she said. He's in custody. And Kelsey? Arrested as well. Conspiracy to commit fraud. She's being processed now. I sat in Vincent's office, holding the phone to my ear. I waited to feel something. Relief. Satisfaction. Grief. I felt nothing. The arraignment was 2 weeks later. I went. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to see it. Maybe I needed to look my son in the eye one last time. The courtroom was small. Fluorescent lights. Wooden benches. The American flag hanging limply in the corner. Dean was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit. His hands were cuffed in front of him. He looked thinner, older. The confident man who had asked me to sign over my house was gone. In his place was someone I didn't recognize. He saw me. Our eyes met across the courtroom. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he looked away. The prosecutor read the charges. Fraud, forgery, elder financial abuse, embezzlement. Each word landed like a stone. Dean pleaded not guilty. The judge set bail at $200,000. Kelsey was next. Same charges. Same plea. Same bail. Neither of them could pay. After the hearing, I walked outside. The sun was too bright. The air was too warm. Everything felt wrong. Mrs. Calloway. I turned. It was Dean's lawyer. A young man in a cheap suit. He looked nervous. My client would like to speak with you, he said. Just for a moment. Before they take him back. I should have said no. I should have walked away. But I didn't. They brought Dean to a small room. A table. 2 chairs. A guard by the door. He sat across from me. Up close, he looked worse. Dark circles under his eyes. A cut on his lip. His hands were shaking. Mom, he said. I said nothing. Mom, please. You have to understand. I never meant for it to go this far. I looked at him. The emails, Dean. I read the emails. He flinched. That was Kelsey. She pushed me. She said we needed the money. She said you had more than you needed. She said, stop. My voice was quiet, but it silenced him. You wrote those words, I said. You wrote that I was a pushover. That I wouldn't fight back. You wrote that a year before you asked to move in with me. I was desperate. The debt, the company, everything was falling apart. I didn't know what else to do. So you stole from me. You took my house. You tried to have me declared incompetent. I was trying to protect you. I laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. Protect me? I said. You threw me out of my own home. You changed the locks. You ignored my calls. You let your wife tell me to go to my room like a dog. Mom, I slept in a motel, Dean. A $49 motel with mold on the ceiling. While you and Kelsey drank wine in my living room. He was crying now. Tears running down his face. The guard shifted uncomfortably by the door. I'm sorry, Dean said. I'm so sorry. Please. Drop the charges. I'll pay you back. I'll do anything. I stood up. You want to know what hurts the most? I said. He looked up at me. It's not the money. It's not the house. It's not even the lies. I leaned closer. It's that you thought I was weak. You looked at me, your mother, and you saw someone to exploit. Someone who wouldn't fight back. I straightened. You were wrong. I walked to the door. "Mom," Dean called. "Mom, please. I'm your son." I stopped. I didn't turn around. "No," I said. "You were my son. The boy I raised would never have done this. That boy is gone. I don't know who you are anymore." I opened the door. "Mom." I walked out. The trial lasted 4 days. The prosecution presented everything: the bank records, the forged documents, the emails. Witness after witness testified about what Dean and Kelsey had done. On the 3rd day, they played a recording. It was a voicemail Dean had left for the fake doctor. The one who was supposed to declare me incompetent. "She's old," Dean's voice said. "She won't know what's happening. Just sign the papers and we'll take care of the rest." The courtroom was silent. I watched the jury's faces. Disgust, anger, pity, but not for Dean. For me. On the 4th day, the judge delivered her verdict. Guilty, on all counts. She looked at Dean for a long moment. "Mr. Calloway," she said, "I have seen many cases of family betrayal in this courtroom. But rarely have I seen anything as deliberate as this." She paused. "This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't desperation. This was calculated cruelty. You systematically dismantled your mother's life for your own financial gain. You showed no remorse, no hesitation, no mercy." She straightened her papers. "The sentence is 8 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for 5. Dean's head dropped. Kelsey screamed something from her seat. The guards moved toward her. I sat very still. After the verdict, Detective Chen found me in the hallway. "How do you feel?" she asked. I thought about the question. "Empty," I said. "I thought I would feel satisfied. Vindicated. But I just feel empty." She nodded. "That's normal," she said. "Justice doesn't fill the hole. It just stops it from getting bigger." She put a hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing, Mrs. Calloway. You stopped him from hurting anyone else." I walked out of the courthouse alone. The sun was setting, orange and pink streaking across the sky. I had won, but I had also lost. I had lost my son. Not to prison. I had lost him long before that. Somewhere along the way, the boy I loved had become a stranger. A predator. Someone who saw his own mother as prey. I would never understand how. I would never stop asking why. But I was done being a victim. 6 months have passed since the trial. I am writing this from my new home. A small cottage on the outskirts of Lexington. White siding. Blue shutters. A porch that faces west, where I can watch the sun go down every evening. I bought it with cash. It is nothing like the house on Maple Ridge Lane. It is smaller, simpler, but it is mine. Every board, every shingle, every blade of grass in the yard. No one can take it from me. The old house was foreclosed 3 months ago. Dean and Kelsey had stopped paying the mortgage long before the arrest. The second loan they took out, the one they used my home as collateral for, came due. The bank sent notices, then warnings, then finally, the sheriff. I could have saved it. I had the money now. Cordelia's inheritance was more than enough to pay off every debt, reclaim every stolen dollar, restore everything to the way it was. But I didn't want to. That house held too many ghosts. The chair where Kelsey had told me to go to my room. The kitchen where Dean had asked me to sign away my life. The bedroom where I had cried myself to sleep. wondering what I had done wrong. I let it go. Some things aren't worth saving. I think about Dean sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. Usually in the early morning, when the world is quiet and my mind wanders to places I try to avoid. I wonder what he is doing in that prison cell. I wonder if he thinks about me. I wonder if he regrets what he did, or only regrets that he got caught. I will never know. He writes to me. Every few weeks, a letter arrives. The return address is the Federal Correctional Institution in Ashland, Kentucky. I recognize his handwriting on the envelope. The same handwriting that used to sign Mother's Day cards. The same handwriting that signed the documents that stole my house. I don't open the letters. I burn them. Some people think that is cruel. A woman at my church, a kind woman, well-meaning, asked me once if I had considered forgiving Dean. She said forgiveness was good for the soul. She said holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I smiled and thanked her for her concern. But she didn't understand. Forgiveness isn't about pretending something didn't happen. It isn't about letting someone back into your life so they can hurt you again. Forgiveness, real forgiveness, is about letting go of the weight. Setting down the stone you have been carrying. I have forgiven Dean. I have accepted that he is who he is. That nothing I did caused it. That nothing I could have done would have prevented it. He made his choices. He faces the consequences. That chapter of my life is closed. But forgiveness doesn't mean reunion. I will never see my son again. I will never read his letters. I will never answer his calls. That is not cruelty. That is survival. The first few months after the trial were the hardest. I didn't know who I was anymore. For 73 years, I had been someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's mother. Every role I had ever played was defined by my relationship to others. Now I was alone. No parents. No husband. No son. Just Vivian. I had to learn who that was. I started small. I joined a book club. Every Tuesday afternoon, a group of women meets at the library on Main Street. We read mysteries, mostly. Sometimes historical fiction. We drink tea and argue about plot twists and complain about endings we didn't like. They don't know my story. I haven't told them. To them, I am just Vivian. A quiet woman who moved here from Kentucky. A woman who likes Earl Grey and Agatha Christie and walks in the park. That is enough. I started gardening again. In my old house, Kelsey had ripped out my flower beds to make room for a patio. She said flowers were too much maintenance. She wanted clean lines, modern aesthetics. Now I have roses, pink ones, climbing up a trellis by the front door. I have tomatoes in the back, basil, peppers, a small herb garden that smells like summer. Every morning, I walk through my garden with a cup of coffee. I check the soil. I pull weeds. I talk to my plants, which my neighbor finds amusing. You know they can't hear you, she said once, leaning over the fence. Maybe not, I said. But I can hear myself. And that's enough. I have made peace with my life. Not the life I expected. Not the life I planned. But the life I have. I am 74 years old now. I have money in the bank. A roof over my head. Friends who make me laugh. A garden that makes me proud. I have my health. Mostly. My knees ache when it rains. My eyes aren't what they used to be. But I can still walk, still read, still cook my own meals and drive my own car. I am luckier than many. Sometimes I think about Cordelia, the woman who saved me, the cousin I barely knew. I have her photograph now. Vincent sent it to me after the estate was settled. It shows a woman in her 80s, standing in front of a large house. She is thin, elegant. Her hair is silver, pulled back in a neat bun. She isn't smiling, but there is something in her eyes. A kind of knowing. I keep the photograph on my mantle. Thank you, I say to her sometimes. Thank you for seeing me. She never answers, of course. But I like to think she hears. I want to tell you something. If you are listening to this story, if you are sitting somewhere right now, feeling alone, feeling trapped, feeling like there is no way out, I want you to know something. You are not crazy. You are not imagining it. And you are not powerless. I know how it feels. I know how they make you doubt yourself. How they twist your words, your memories, your reality. How they make you think you deserve what is happening to you. You don't. No one deserves to be exploited. Not by strangers. Not by friends. And certainly not by family. Blood doesn't give anyone the right to hurt you. Love doesn't mean letting someone destroy you. I was 73 when I lost everything. My house. My savings. My son. I was 73 when I sat in a dirty motel room, crying into a thin pillow, wondering if this was how my life would end. But it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. I am not the same woman I was 2 years ago. That woman was afraid. She was tired. She had spent her whole life putting others first, and she didn't know how to put herself first. I am still learning. But I am learning. Last week, I did something I never thought I would do. I went to a support group for survivors of elder abuse. It meets every Thursday evening at the community center. I was terrified. I almost turned around 3 times on the way there. But I walked in. I sat down. I listened. There were 8 of us. Men and women. All over 65, all with stories like mine. Children who stole, spouses who manipulated, caregivers who exploited. One woman, her name was Dorothy, had lost her entire retirement to a son who convinced her to co-sign loans. Another man, Gerald, had been locked in his own basement by a daughter who wanted his house. We sat in a circle. We drank bad coffee. We shared our pain. And for the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel alone. At the end of the meeting, the group leader asked if anyone had anything to add. I raised my hand. I just want to say, I said, that I spent a long time blaming myself. Wondering what I did wrong. Wondering why my son turned out the way he did. The room was silent. But I've realized something. We can't control other people. We can't make them love us. We can't make them be good. All we can control is ourselves. Our choices. Our actions. Our response to what happens to us. I paused. I lost my son. That will never stop hurting. But I found something too. I found myself. And I found all of you. Dorothy reached over and squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. I don't know how much time I have left. 74 isn't young. My mother died at 78. My father at 81. The actuarial tables say I have maybe 10 years. Maybe more. Maybe less. But I am not afraid anymore. I have lived a full life. Not a perfect life. Not an easy life. but a real one. I have loved. I have lost. I have been betrayed, and I have survived. I have learned that strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up. If you take nothing else from my story, take this. You are not too old to start over. You are not too broken to heal. You are not too weak to fight back. The people who hurt you, they want you to believe you have no power. They want you to stay silent. Stay small. Stay afraid. Don't give them that satisfaction. Speak up. Reach out. Fight back. Your life is not over. It is just beginning. The sun is setting now. I can see it from my porch. Orange and gold spilling across the sky. The roses are blooming. The air smells like summer. I have a book in my lap. A cup of tea on the table beside me. Somewhere down the street, a dog is barking. Children are laughing. This is my life now. It is quiet. It is simple. It is mine. And that is more than enough. Thank you for listening to my story. I mean that. Truly. It wasn't easy to tell. There were parts one wanted to skip. Parts one wanted to forget. But I told it anyway, because I know there is someone out there who needed to hear it. Maybe that someone is you. If my story helped you even a little, I am grateful. If you know someone who is going through something similar, please share this with them. Let them know they are not alone. And if you would like to hear more stories like mine, I hope you will subscribe to this channel. Click the like button. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. We are all in this together. Thank you, and take care of yourself. You deserve it.